On this Good Friday, let me read to you from John chapter 19, verses 17 to 27. Carrying his own cross, he went out to the place of the skull, which in Aramaic is called Golgotha. There they crucified him, and with him 2 others, one on each side and Jesus in the middle. Pilate had a notice prepared and fastened to the cross. It read, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." Many of the Jews read this sign, for the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and the sign was written in Aramaic, Latin, and Greek. The chief priests of the Jews protested to Pilate, "Do not write the King of the Jews, but that this man claimed to be the King of the Jews." Pilate answered, "What I've written, I've written." Then the soldiers crucified Jesus. They took his clothes, dividing them into 4 shares, one for each of them, with the undergarment remaining. This garment was seamless, woven into one piece from top to bottom. "Let's not tear it," they said to one another. "Let's decide by lot who will get it." This happened that the scripture might be fulfilled that said, "They divided my clothes among them and cast lots for my garment." So this is what the soldiers did. Near the cross of Jesus stood his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. Then Jesus saw his mother there and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby. He said to her, "Woman, here is your son." And to the disciple, "Here is your mother." From that time on, this disciple took her into his home. Here they crucified him. There's something very salutary about those words. They're probably the most penetrating in the whole of the gospel, that there at this point in time, in this point of history, they crucified him. Think of what led to this. All that had happened through his ministry, through the rejection of what he had to say, what he had to do. Think of what will follow when we see Jesus not only crucified, but buried. I think it's so important, those terms, buried in a tomb. You find it in the gospel in Corinthians 15 when it's talking about what actually happened. It was so important in the proclamation of the gospel. Pilate prepared a notice. Now, some didn't like it. You can understand why they didn't like it, because Pilate actually wrote down what people were saying. King of the Jews, but not the leaders who came and said, "Don't say that. That's what he said." Well, actually, it wasn't what he said in that way. It was what he knew himself to be. It was what people who walked with him were beginning to perceive. Now, we've talked about crisis in the lives of people. And that's why I was delighted that Stephen could join me on this very special day in the Christian year. It's a day which offers hope and purpose. Hope and purpose is shown when people practically go out of the way to help others. We see hope and purpose in that marvelous end piece in this part of the gospel where Jesus points to his mother and introduces his mother to the disciple he loved and said, "Here's a boy for you." But the wonderful truth to this disciple, "Here's a mother to you." Oh, it's a marvelous picture, isn't it, of love spelt out in practical terms. John Curson, in his notes in the application commentary, wrote this: "We do not stand on what we do or how we behave. We stand on the finished work of the cross." I've always found those words very, very important to me. The finished work of the cross. There is nothing more to do. There is nothing more we can do. What Jesus Christ now has done in living and dying for us is the finished work. It is the complete work of Christ, the end work of Christ. And of course, because it's finished, it opens up on a whole new world. It is the beginning of grace, the beginning of hope, the beginning of love. It's the place where God can take hold of your hand and place it into the wounded hand of Christ to find hope for your life. Surely as people go out today in all over this world, in all its brokenness, and all the things that we are living through at this time, it is a message that we cannot lose hold of. It is the message of the finished work of Jesus Christ upon the cross.